Hello and welcome to Canvas, the Niger-Delta Roundtable, where I discuss the future of this region blessed with hydrocarbon resources. Every week, we give time to reflecting on topics relevant to the development of the Niger-Delta and her people. Now, this episode is no different. I'm here to focus once again on how to take this region to a more promising future. The podcast is sponsored by the operator of the NNPC, Renaissance Total Energies Ajib joint venture, Renaissance Africa Energy Company Limited, headquartered in Port Harcourt. Thank you for joining. I'm Adedayo Elushakin. Our topic for this episode is Children Are Not Laborers. Now, child labor remains a harsh reality for millions of children around the world, robbing them of their childhood, education, and future. Today, in commemoration of World Day Against Child Labor, we explore the root causes of this issue, the ongoing fight to end child exploitation, and the powerful solutions that can create lasting change. Children are more than just the future, they are the present. And while we often celebrate them with gifts and games, today we're asking a deeper question. What do children truly need to grow, to thrive, and to feel safe and loved? Every year, on June 12th, the world unites to observe World Day Against Child Labor, a day dedicated to raising awareness and driving action against child exploitation. This year's theme, progress is clear, but there's more to do. Let's speed up efforts, reminds us that while strides have been made, millions of children still face the harsh reality of forced labor. In this episode, we'll explore the root causes of child labor, the global fight to eliminate it, and the solutions that can create lasting impact. Here, we'll hear stories of resilience, discuss policies that protect children, and highlight the urgent need for collective action, because children belong in classrooms, not workplaces. Again, the topic on Canvas is Children Are Not Laborers. My guest is Tonjo Meshach Harry Esquire. Now, Tonjo Meshach Harry Esquire is a child protection specialist, a UNICEF focal person in the River State Universal Basic Education Board Child Safeguard. He is a program educator, facilitator on child's right implementation, child labor, child abuse, and all forms of social vice against vulnerable children, special needs children, and persons with disabilities. Tonjo Meshach Harry Esquire, hello, welcome to Canvas, the Niger-Delta Roundtable.
Thank you very much.
It's a privilege to have you here. And even before the conversation, before we started recording, we already started touching on some seemingly contentious issues.
Exactly.
So I do anticipate that this is going to be a truly interesting conversation.
Yeah, that's right.
Before I ask you some of the more deliberate questions, which have been planned for this conversation, how contentious, and this was not designed earlier on, just came to me now, how contentious is the subject matter of child labor? Is it a contentious discussion, or is it simply cut and dry, black and white, we'll understand it, and no complexities at all?
Yeah, of course. It is actually a contentious statement, because what it means, what child labor means here might be different from what it means in other places.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now that takes us to the first question I had pre-planned then. What constitutes child labor? And it's interesting you say what child labor is here may not be what it is elsewhere.
Yes, exactly.
Does that suggest that we don't have a universal understanding of what child labor is? And whether or not we do, what constitutes child labor?
Well, what constitutes child labor is actually the hardship that is being constituted or inflicted on the child. And what do we understand by child labor at the first instance? child labor has to do with when a child is being inflicted with hardship, hard work, deprived from his or her dignity, his or her childhood. There is what we call childhood. A child is a child. That's a childhood. And that child is a child that needs to be protected, that has to be guided, that has to be led. So these are the components that makes childhood for his survival. And that's why there's a parental guidance. There is also, in fact, the child as a whole totally needs to be guided and to be protected for his or her total survival. And when that is not there, the child loses that childhood. And at the end of the day, the child will be exposed to, of course, all forms of vulnerability, which might end the child into all sorts of social vices.
You talk about inflicting hardships on a child.
Yes.
That has the potential to rob the child of their childhood.
Exactly.
Could you expand on that concept of inflicting hardship?
Exactly.
What constitutes, or what would be the definition of hardship?
Because, let's look at in Africa, that naturally or culturally, children assist her parents in carrying out some domestic functions and all the rest. We cannot refer that as child labor. When a child has to wake up in the morning, do the house chores and all the rest. Or also, a mother is in the marketplace. That is how they make their daily livelihood. And then the child too is also there with the mother, assisting the mother to sell one or two things. And then the child also goes to school. The child is not deprived from accessing his or her education. The child goes to school. The child comes back. And also the child is being protected as a child. So the child also have time to rest. So the child is not deprived from his or her rest. Then the child also has time to read. So we cannot refer that as child labor. But it's different from a child who is being sent out. Go and sell banana. Go and sell this orange. The mother or the guardian or whoever or the relative is there somehow, sitting down at home. The child is moving around, even at school hours. So that child is being deprived from going to school, and the child is also exposed to all sorts of vulnerabilities. That is why child labor is also connected to other forms of social vices, even abuses, trafficking. So that is the child labor we're talking about. That is referred to child labor. Because at that point of time, you have deprived the child from its childhood, from its dignity. The child is no longer a child. He's an adult, which you're seeing him as an adult. You're not seeing him as a child. There's no protection. There's no safeguard. Where the child is going or coming, it's not your business. What you want is that go and sell and bring this money. So you don't know what this child is passing through. That is exactly what to refer to as child labor.
So, will this summation be correct then, from what you have said?
Yes.
As long as the child is afforded an education, goes to school, returns, maybe has some time to catch a nap, a wink or two, has some time to also read on what they may have studied in school, whatever else happens after that, after we've ensured the child can get an education, go to school, and take a nap or whatever it is, anything that happens after that cannot constitute child labor.
What we're saying here is total child protection. Child protection components must be very, very considerate, must be taken into consideration.
What are these child protection components?
The protection of the child is that? Is the child being protected? Are you sure that, okay, for example, just like the example I gave to you, a mother is in her shop or something, and the child is also there assisting to sell one or two things. When somebody's, of course, that child indirectly is learning how to do business. Madam, is 2 naira. Okay, collect change, come. At the end of it. And you see them at times, such children, they sit down in the shop and also do their assignments. And they rest. That is their source of livelihood. The child somehow is assisting the parents, and the child is under the watchdog of the parents. So there is child protection in that manner. There is child protection. There are other concepts that also institute child protection. Even if you go to marketplaces, for example, some children sell in the market. When they come back from the school, they are selling in the market. The mother is there. The child is carrying little, maybe Maggie or something. Come and buy, come and buy. The mother is watching her. You can't call that child labor. She's assisting the parents. At the end of the day, she comes back from school, she eats, and that is not child labor. Let me give you an example. I was coming from education. I was rushing to a meeting. I saw a child in one of the filling stations. The child was seated at about 10 o'clock, 10 a.m. in the morning. The child was selling banana. That means that child was not going to school. I asked him, I said, what's your name? In fact, I pretended to buy banana, and I took the child's address. That was 10 a.m. And I asked the child, why are you not in school? He said, my mother said I should, that say, make her not go to school. I said, sure. Are you staying with your mother? Because I'm trying to. He said, yes. Sometimes they will tell you yes, while it is no. I know, I've come across. So that is child labor. If you go to the parks, you will see children washing plates. They use them as house helps. Maybe 10, 11. That is child labor. That child, probably the parents, because of hardship and all the rest, gave the child to her whatever to stay with. And that child is struggling. And if you see the kind of hardship, harshness, cruelty that those children pass through, psychological trauma that those children pass through, at the end of the day, they can even walk from morning till 12 o'clock without eating. I don't know if you understand. So that is child labor. The child is passing through a lot of psychological, psychophysical breakdown gradually. At the same time, that child is exposed to all sorts of things around the environs. A lot of things are attracted to the child. So the child is not stable. So that is exactly what we refer to as child labor.
We will come to some of the more peculiar aspects of child labor.
Yeah.
In relation to our climate, our environment. And it's interesting. You mentioned a very important point, which we will discuss in a moment, the issue of house helps.
Exactly.
That's prevalent in our environment.
Exactly.
But just to explore a little further, the example you've dwelt on thus far as to children assisting their parents in what may be considered a family business.
Yeah.
And you described, consistently one scenario where the mother usually, in most cases, sometimes it's the father as well, has a shop somewhere, and the child is assisting after school.
Yeah.
Because of the economic situation in our country, we also have cases where parents who engage in some of these businesses, maybe in some trade, also do not have shops. They can't afford a shop. So you have mothers who ply their trade by displaying their wares on the streets, or who have to move from location to location, displaying their wares for sale. And while the mother is balancing a tray on her head of whatever she's selling, plantain or whatever else it is, you have a child accompanying her, possibly balancing a smaller tray on his or her head with similar wares. Is that okay as well? Because there's no shop, but they're going from place to place, displaying the wares, and then relying on usually people in residential areas to patronize them. Is that fine?
Look, you have to look at this at the true side, or from the true side of the coin. You know what I'm saying? Now, the more that, because of the level of poverty, we have to understand our environment, our society. With the level of poverty, like I said, you can't really rule out a lot of things. Now, like you say, bringing the scenario with the mother and the child, that means the child is protected because the mother is there. That means there is child protection, as a child protection specialist, because the mother is there. But in a scenario where the child is all alone, hawking, it's a different thing altogether. Our laws also speaks against child hawking. Why? Because the child is exposed to danger. That child is exposed to all sorts of abuses, molestation. If it's a girl child, that's the worst, because the girl child is more vulnerable. You know what I'm saying? Somebody can call her. Maybe she's 14 years, she's 12 years. Some, hook lungs can even call her and say, come, we want to buy all your granite. And they take her to somewhere and they abuse her. Because why? She's alone. She's alone. There's no protection. And look at it. How can you send a child of that age to go out alone to start selling things? There's no conscience from the mother, because there is no child protection. And the dangers in our environment. So the true scenario is not the same. So that's the truth.
Is child labor synonymous with geographical locations? And I think you suggested at the start of the conversation that what constitutes child labor in one place may not be child labor somewhere else.
Yes, exactly.
So are there geographical connotations when it comes to child labor?
No. Like I say, what constitutes child labor here may not constitute really, because like we're talking about China, where children, demonstrate using creativity to do things and all the rest. Isn't it? And at the end of the day, even those products are being sold and then they make money out of it. Because why? China is looking at driving technology. That's their goal. That's their aim. Now, there was a concept that reminds me of a concept from Asia. Sometime I know that UNICEF introduced that concept try to introduce, and they advocated it. It's called Aflatun concept. And what's Aflatun concept? It's a concept where, like in schools, children can be involved in creativity. And through their creativity, they can build up, they can come up with things, textiles, a lot of other things. Psychology will call it drawing the latent potentials from the child. And then they're also building the child. So it's not just the white chalkboard all the time. You expose the children to all sorts of diverse creativity. And then at the end of the term, they also come up with exhibitions. Some can create different things. And then they also sell these things, and it goes back to the children.
So can children?
And then, yes, and it goes back, those things that they made and they said are supposed to go back to the children according to the Aflatun concept. And the children are also supposed to learn to save money out of there. So in there, you're also learning them how to save money. And then by the time they graduate, they have money to do a lot of things. Or let's say the child has some problems or challenges and all the rest. The child can also have some money from the purse.
And children then can...
It was a concept.
Can children work in factories then?
No, not really. It depends on the conceptualized ideals of the factory. What kind of factory? Like in China, I know you're going there because you work in factory. Yes, but there are some products that are made for them, I'm sure, because as a technology-driven society, they know what the children should be engaged on. And they know that these are things that are supposed to be done. Recently, even in Nigeria, our minister is talking about our educational system, changing the narrative, driving what we call skills and potentials into our educational system, isn't it? And that's what the 6224 is all about, which is a 9 years of educational system from 0 to 9 years. So that by the time you finished junior, secondary, you're supposed to have a potential. You're supposed to have driven one potentials to yourself. And the question we should ask ourselves is our educational system really addressing our economic system? No, it's not. So if we have this concept, before a child comes out of junior, secondary, probably he can repair your phone.
Okay,
he can do a lot of other things.
Let's narrow down on some of the more obvious peculiarities or the realities of our environment. I mean, we don't have enough factories anyway, even to engage adults, let alone children. But a common phenomenon here, as you also identified earlier on, is the concept of house helps, housemaids. Very common.
Exactly.
Once a couple come together and sometimes they don't even have a child yet, or once they have a child, one of the next thing that comes up is, how do we get a maid? And more often than not, the persons who are contracted to serve as maids are children. They're very young in many instances. Sometimes even they're no different from the age bracket of even the children of the couple themselves.
Exactly.
Is that okay? And considering our previous conversation, because you have instances where these children go to school as well. So is it okay that once the child goes to school or whatever under whatever other circumstances, the concept of housemaids or house helps, is it child labor or is it fine considering our economic realities?
When a child is given as house help, that task alone, it is called modern slavery. That's what we call modern slavery and bondage. And that should be abrogated in our law. It is against it is in fact dehuman to the children. The child no longer have his or her dignity. And in most cases, 90%, you see that those children are being used harshly. I have even a case right now. Somebody reported a case to me, which, just like you said, they brought children, minors, to take care of children, minors. And every day the woman comes back from work or something, she beats those children because why? They make mistake. And these are children and they are bound to make mistakes because maybe they are supposed to keep a cup here and they didn't keep the cup here, or they break the plate or they break the cup or something. Now I've told him to please just give me some evidence, ingrediential evidence, because we're going to use that so that is slavery. That is slavery. So house help should be abrogated.
Many persons in our climate, in the Niger-Delta here, in the larger Nigerian space, would defend the act, by saying that after all, the parent of the child could not cater for the child, which is what happens in many of these instances. and they require help. They're inquiring help. They have given the child off, in some cases, even to quote and unquote, really imagined family members in the city, so to speak, to take care of. And the persons who have received these children to serve as helps defend the action by saying they are giving them an education. They are helping them because in some instances, maybe many, they actually go to school. And this child is better off with me or with this other family than with the original family, where they probably would not get an education, maybe not even enough nutrition as well. But at least with us, the child is guaranteed an education, is guaranteed adequate nutrition, maybe some nice clothes to wear, maybe a roof over their head as well. And if the original parents or family could not provide these for them, what is wrong with this child getting this from this other family?
That is why child labor, there are a lot of factors that are surrounding child labor. These are all some of the factors that are surrounding child labor. Now, for example, poverty is there, we know. And again, a child that is being sent out to another parent, that's, first of all, we have also broken the bond of attachment theory, according to John Bowler. There's what we call attachment theory in psychology. You have broken the bond between the mother or the parents and that child. So, because there's supposed to be a bond between the child and the parents, but because of poverty, because of the economic, hardship in our society, you now give this child out at the end of the day. So the child is under the mercy. And if you watch, most of the problems we are having in child labor comes from where? From house helps. Most of the children that are being abused in hardship, in molestation, are house helps. About 70 to 80% of them are house helps. Because one, you see people maltreating other people's children because they are not your children. And then those children will have to wait until when your children finish eating. And then you take these children and put in public schools or a no nonsense, nonsensical school, and you put your children in the best school. Now, that is why our government has to sit up. That is why, of course, in child protection, we also talk about family planning. Why don't you give birth to the number of children that you want to, that you can train? In fact, I'm even advocating for government to come with a policy that you should give birth to at most 2 or 3 children in this our economy.
On that policy note, because it's an integral part of the conversation that we're having, what government can or should be doing, individuals, organizations.
Yeah.
But we must go for a break right now.
Okay, thank you very much.
Canvas the Niger-Delta Roundtable. Children are not laborers is what we're discussing right now in commemoration of World Child Labor Day. We'll return in a moment. So please stay with us.
In the heart of our journey, where the sun touches the earth and the wind whispers through the trees, a new chapter unfolds. A chapter where energy illuminates more than just bulbs. It lights up minds. A chapter of unity, a coming together with a common goal to energize futures and illuminating lives. In classrooms, young dreams evolve, inspired by the promise of a brighter tomorrow fueled by available energy. Small businesses flourish, becoming seeds of prosperity. Energy that empowers and is catalyst for growth and change. The future is energy. So, let's light up the path to a sustainable future together. Energy for you, me, and the world at large. energy for people and planet. We are Renaissance.
Welcome back. Still Canvas, the Niger-Delta Roundtable, brought to you by Renaissance Africa Energy Company Limited. I'm Dio. In commemoration of World Day Against Child Labour, we're discussing children are not labourers. My guest is Tonjo Meshakari Square. Tonjo, you're welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah. Still, along the lines of the question I asked before we went on the break.
Yeah.
We might find, however rare, possibly, instances there have been, possibly will still be, instances where, I will be the first to admit that whenever you see a family with children, parents, children, and there's a house help, I think 9.5 out of 10 times, or 9.999 out of 10 times, you can identify who the house help is.
Exactly.
You don't know what to tell you.
Exactly, that's true.
It's almost like there's a huge arrow pointing at this is the house help.
Exactly, that's good.
And no matter how well off the family is, it's immediately obvious.
Exactly.
But there are instances, maybe that 0.0000001%, where there's just about no difference. And the parents or the guardians, in this case, treat the help, in quotes, just about the same way they treat their own children. Does that justify, if we can have that 0.001% or 1 out of 10 maybe, or maybe even more, would that be enough reason? Because if we didn't have the house help situation, this child has been saved, in quotes, and afforded the best they possibly could get in life, in quotes, would not have got it if we didn't allow for the child the house help situation.
In that case, we're not going to refer the child as a house help any longer. That child indirectly is being adopted by the parents. Yes, when I was small too, growing up, we experienced that in our family. There were some persons that my parents, because my family was a big family, that came to our home, and you can't differentiate who the house helps is and who the children is. Because why? If you eat, you wash your plate. The other person eats, he or she worship. And we eat in the same dining, from the same pot. And some of them grew up, and I know that one, he's late now, and Enoch, he was working in the ministry. He finished school, finished his university. In that case, you can't refer that as an house help. Because that is not slavery. You buy clothes, they are treated the same. It's like an adoption. I'm taking this child as my child. That's a different thing. There is no ulterior motive. But when you talk about house help, that tag, that this person is a house help, and you tag the child as a house help, wherever you go, you even introduce this person as a house help. It's a tag. It's a tag of discrimination against the child's right. There's a discrimination there. But you see that in the other family, when they go out, you say, who is it? It's my daughter. Ah, you have a daughter? Like, yes, it's my daughter. Yes, I have. And the child is happy. The child is happy. You buy chocolate. You treat them the same way like your daughter. And sometimes, do you know that your children grew up not knowing that this person is an house help? And they begin to say, it's my daughter. And at times, this other child grew up becoming something because you are psychologically also tapping the potentials of the child, building the child to who the child wants to be. But in the other scenario, this child is a house help. If you want a house help, go and take a child of 18. Not a child again. A child of a majority is from 18 years, isn't it? That child can walk, isn't it? Has finished school. Go and employ. So that person can work for you. Let's know that this person is working for you. That's a different thing. But don't go and bring somebody while you're paying the parents at home. You're giving the parents money and everything. Then even at times, the money you're paying the parents, you're even angry. And you begin to bring all manner of this thing on the child. You abuse the child. You call that child all sorts of names. You are mad. Can your parents afford this kind of food in your house? Look at your head, coconut head. And if not for the mercy of God, the child's head will gradually become coconut. Gradually. Because you abuse the child to nothing. You put the child to nothing, and the child will begin to see his or herself as nothing. Psychological trauma will begin to take place. Mentally, psychophysical, the child begin to see his or herself as nothing. Self-esteem is taking place.
Annually and quite regularly, we have conversations of this nature regarding child labor. A lot of emphasis is placed on the house helps, conundrum or syndrome, if you will. However, it is still quite rampant in our society. In spite of all of these conversations and several efforts being made by yourself, different organizations to work with, we still have a preponderance of this situation. Why is that the case? And what do organizations like yours, what challenges do organizations like yours face in dealing with or addressing the challenges associated with child labor?
My organization? You mean my organization?
Yes.
Well,
or not yours only, but others like yours. Yes.
Okay, well, you see, first of all, identifying the child laborer is another issue. And also identifying them, access to education, because they don't have access to education. And also cultural norms are also there. In some culture, they believe that it is normal, like in the Cross River states and all the rest. Akwa Ibom, it's like it's normal. It is a norm. That's just it. But I know that when Akpabio, was there, I think he did a lot of things, a lot of work to see how he can eliminate most of those child labor people giving their children as trying to put. That's why you see that poverty is one major issue. So cultural norms is there. Identifying these children are also there. And also educational factor, access to good education is very, very important.
In those instances where you do identify cases,
Yes.
I mean, you were speaking, I think before we went for the break, you were describing a scenario in which someone had called your attention to a situation.
Yeah.
Now you're asking for some evidence. I feel certain you've come across several such scenarios.
Yes.
There are other times when you have received evidence of this abuse, and there's no doubt that we have established the case of child labor going on. What challenges are there with addressing those situations?
Most times we have very lack our MDAs. Our institutions are very, very weak. You know that we don't have the political will. We don't pay attention to child protection as much as we pay attention to other political issues more. We're looking at, because these are not things that will give us money. These are things that has to do with the protection of humans, children. Of course, we haven't finished protecting, do I say the normal children? I want to now protect the vulnerables. So at the end of the day, it's a very difficult thing. You go outside, you see children, even up till as we speak, children sleeps under the park. Under the park, there are some families that sleeps under the park, under the flyover. So there are institutional problems. For example, the social welfare is also supposed to be taking responsibility in that areas. But at times too, you go there, what are the things, what are the structures, what are the mechanics? Do you understand what I mean? What are the things that are supposed to, because there was a time too, I had some issues and I had to refer. Because when I have cases like that, all I do is to make referral. I make referral to respond. We have Risk Communication Club in schools. And also, we also have River State Risk Response Team. We work together. And then all this, we also need to move a child to a safe home. which is a social welfare. So we're working in collaboration with other partners and other groups. And at the end of the day, there are a lot of challenges. Formally, when you have cases of, because like I say, child labor is being connected to abuse and all the rest. When UNICEF was really on ground too, they were really assisting. We also refer person, because at the end of the day, where they also have abuses, we also refer them to like Doctors Without Borders and all the rest. They're no longer in the state. They've moved out of the state. So there are a lot of challenges out there at the end of the day to address this
I was going to
issue.
go to what government should be doing to fix the situation. But just for a moment, taking from what you just said, why have these agencies, and they're mostly international agencies, like Doctors Without Borders, why have they moved out of the state? Or
Well, it is they've probably ended their country cycle program, because they all have a target, a cycle period of how their programs are supposed to be operated, their intervention. And after them, even UNICEF is also pulling, because they've ended the cycle program. But of course, they are in health, they are in other components. So these are, and we can also continue to be living by donors. We have money. Nigeria has money. River State has money. Let's start looking inward. Let's start looking at our own situation and start building blocks, building tracks to solve our problems.
And if
we have welfare homes and all the rest. Let people start taking responsibilities, because they are saddled with responsibilities. Take responsibilities. Go out and do what you're supposed to do. I go out in the afternoon. I go on that park. I take baseline information. I see what children are suffering, and it's never palatable to me. It's so upsetting. So there is need for us to take up responsibilities and do it. And also, there are also passionate NGOs and CBOs and faith-based organizations. There are people that are working.
And if I may add to some of the concerns you mentioned with international donors, especially we have a trend the world over now where some of the richest nations are adopting a nationalist agenda or focus. By implication, they are pulling their funding for donations to other third world countries.
Exactly.
The US is taking the lead in that lately.
Exactly.
So that's going to affect a lot of things, no doubt about that. So what then should our governments be doing to improve the situation?
Our government should stop politics, because we do not understand the difference between politics and governance. We play politics. For the whole tenor, what we do is politics, political struggling. In fact, what we have is not governance, it's political structure. That's why we have tussles here and there. When you have governance, you see a system moving, you see the metrics working. That's why system is not working. Even when the system is not working, it's not working in a free atmosphere. There are bottlenecks, there are blocks here and there trying to stop you, not to move. So you struggle to make things work. Let it be a free flow of governance. Let the people enjoy democratic system. Until we have a true democratic system, there won't be political way. Then you have the technocrats that could be working, and people will work, and you see things work out good for us. Because when you go out, you see the children that are suffering every day. Who is taking care of them?
And
I weep every day.
More specifically, what should our government be doing specifically?
Specifically, government should come up with a political will and also come up with policies that will abrogate or eliminate all forms of child labor. Already the National Action Plan for the Elimination of All Forms of Child Labor is there. That was enunciated in 2013. And the next, after 5 years, we have 2001 that roll out to 2000 and 2005. 5. These are national policies. And we have also the Child's Right Act. This is our act that protects the right of the child. It should be enforced. Government should come up with policies that every child must go to school. Children should not be engaged on child labor, hawking on the street and all the rest. We should abrogate all those forms of child labor because those children are passing through a lot of hardship and those laws should be enforced.
How can education be used as a tool to end child labor?
Well, education will be used to end child labor. Already we have free education, even if it's not totally free. But in the free education, we must make the free education to be interesting.
But is that not a challenge? When you say we have free education and then it's not totally free,
yes,
isn't that in itself a challenge?
Because if you want to give free education, what is free? Uniforms, are they free? School books, are they free? Schools...
That's what I'm saying. Isn't that a challenge? Because we have climates in the world where these things are actually free. You do not pay anything.
That means we must define, in every administration, should define what is free and what is not free. So that the parents will know and the children will also know. Not the children, of course. Theirs is just to go to school. And again, our school system, our school should be child-friendly. Should be child-friendly. Should be attractive to the child. Because the child walks into a school. For example, he walks into our government school, which is our public schools and all the rest. And the walls and everything are not looking, there's something that interests the child. If a child walks in here now, the child will be looking at the photographs. There's something that attracts the child. So make it child-friendly. UNICEF talks about child-friendly environment, child-friendly school. A child that at the end of the day, he walks into the school, he looks at the wall, he sees cartoons and all the rest, Spider-Man, things that attract, I want to go to school. The next day he's telling you, I want to go to school, I want to go to that school. Isn't it? Mm-hmm. There's something that attracts that child. So we should redesign our schools, reconceptualize it. Then in the school also, we should make it attractive and interesting for the children so that the children can, love to go to school. Because some of these children that are also involved in child labor and all the rest, how do we also bring them in? There are a lot of things that we need to do, which experts, rehabilitators, like people like us. So experts are all involved so that at the end of the day, we can really remold the children for a better sense.
Every society, including ours, is made up of individuals. And we all have a role to play as well. As individuals, what can we do to bring an end to the scourge of child labor?
As individuals, every stakeholder has a responsibility. Gone are the days when, our fathers, our communities, they understand that every child is your child. Now, people see other children as not their child. So even when another person's child is going astray, you just feel that this child is not my business. It's your business because tomorrow that child will come and disturb you. That child you feel that is not your child, tomorrow might be a problem to you or to your children, or he or she can influence your children. So every child is our child, is a Nigerian child. So as you're moving anywhere, you see anything that is not good, that is not good enough for a child. A child is you should speak out. You should report to the appropriate quarters, to the appropriate MDAs. And when you do, what happens? They should take actions. They should not sit down lackadaisically as if it's not my business. This is government work. No. It's your work. It's your job. You have a role to play. Everybody have a role to play. Take up responsibility. Do what you're supposed to do. Because I don't believe in government in the quote. Who is the government? You and I is the government. You're the government in your own little corner. What you do is government. What the other man does is government. After all, what is government? What is democracy? It's for the people, by the people, people, isn't it? So we have to work as people to see that these things, just like I say, somebody, in fact, I'm disturbing that he should send me informations immediately. So you should speak out. You saw somebody, a child is suffering somewhere, and you go, it's not my, no, you should speak up, report.
On a somewhat final note, it is not unusual to hear people say in our climate, our environment, when you advise, you said earlier, people should conceive or give birth to the number of children that they can take care of. And you were advocating the number earlier on.
Yes, exactly.
Conclusively,
somehow.
I'd like you to speak on that. What you advocate in terms of, should we have a cap on number of children? And also respond to a popular saying in our environment that God is the one that gives children and God is the one that takes care of children. That, I think, is the excuse many people give for having vast numbers that they can't take care of. So, 2 cents as we end. Your suggestion or your position on having a cap for children that a family can have.
Exactly.
And then the position that is given by many that God gives children and takes care of children.
Now, when they say that you give birth, you should give birth to as many that you can take care of. It is vague. It is open. It's an open check. So I can decide to give birth to 5, 6, 7. I say I can take care of it. Whereas I'm not taking, so it is open. But the children are suffering. Even the mother too is also suffering. And those are I know somebody around one environs, because of course I'm a technical partner to the primary health management board. We won't talk about family planning and all the rest. And I preached and I told to him, he had 5 children. Exactly what he told me. He said, is it not an offense is it not against God? Is it not going to be an offense if he does family planning and all the rest? He has 7 children. I told him, I said, you smoke, you drink beer, you do also, those things, are they not offense? Is it only this one now you want to obey? I opened his eyes. I said, man, look at you bringing these children that you cannot take care of. Is an offense. In fact, the children has a right to sue you. A child's right, they have the right to sue you because you have brought children on earth. Did they beg you? You brought children on earth that you cannot take care of. At the end of the day, you let them to be loose and all the rest. They should sue you. And we are coming to that. So if government can, they should put a cap. But it's Africa. How will it fly? Because people should give birth to at least, even if it's 2, 3. Now they say maximum of 4. Even 4 now, it's not easy. You're paying fees. You know what it means to put breakfast on table? To give them nutrition, good nutritional food at the end of the day. You know what it means? How much you're going to be spending in a breakfast? It's not easy. Calculate it. Bread, egg, and everything. Even if you're not giving them all that, you're giving them the local diet. There's nothing that is cheap now. So look at it. That's why we have malnutrition, a high level of malnutrition now. So we need to understand that these children needs to be protected. There's need.
Now to wrap on the need to protect our children, we wrap up this edition of Canvas in Niger-Delta Roundtable. In commemoration of World Day Against Child Labour, we've discussed children are not labourers. My guest is a child protection specialist, Tonjo Meshach Harris Choir.
Thank you very much.
Tonjo, thank you for your time, the great work you're doing, and I hope we can all succeed eventually.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, yes.
And like Tonjo, my guest has strongly recommended, please give birth to the number of children that you can take care of, and let's all play our role in ending child labour in our environment. Thank you for watching this episode and listening. Do catch other episodes on our social media channels. Thanks for listening. I'm Adid Dayalushakin. Bye for now.